Alright, I'll give an update to the headaches and hassles I've been dealing with this engine build. Lately it's been with this pulley system and with the ATI damper. I don't know if you're following me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. You saw the issue I had with the damper. A while back I purchased a mill and I bought a cheap Amazon boring head, and these hubs here on these ATI dampers come undersized. Now these are interference fit, so the hub is actually slightly smaller. And by slightly, I mean like maybe 1/1000th undersized from the crank snout. So usually people heat them and press them on, or they'll put them in a pot of boiling water or something like that. I bought that power built puller press or hub installer remover, whatever tool, to pull the old one off because I actually measured it right and I wrote it down wrong. So when I didn't do it all. I measured it one day and I came back the next day and I measured it or whatever and wrote it down. I came back the next day and just kind of glanced at my notes, make sure it was in spec. Just gave it a second look over and went to install it, and I got it about halfway on and I realized that it was way too hard to be pressing on and I needed to stop. And by that point, I damn near stuck it on, but luckily I was able to put a heat gun blowing into the end of it. And with that, I managed to get it off, luckily. And it actually didn't damage the crank or the hub. The downside is, like I said, I ordered a cheap boring head for the mill and went to bore it out because you're supposed to hone these with a hone, but they're already cut for the key of the crank. So if you put a hone in there, like a cylinder hone, which I have a small one that's literally would work perfect for this, you have to press like a sacrificial piece of metal in there to block that key so your hone's not catching on it when it spins. I didn't have one of those, and it would take longer for me to make one the right size to go in there versus me using the mill, and I figured this was a perfect opportunity to use the fancy mill tool that I bought. So anyways, milled it out, and I needed to research how the boring head worked a little bit more and be a little bit more careful with my measurements because I overbored it. So I had to order a new ATI hub, and they are not cheap. They are close to $200. So that sucked. So I'm hoping somebody that has a small block Ford has messed with the ATI dampers or with one of these CVF kits can give me some input, because as you can see, something is wrong. That's nowhere near fitting. All right, so the first issue is the hub is supposed to be butted all the way against the crank gear, and I'm pretty sure it is. See how these are stepped? There's another step that's inside of there that's about the same width as that one, and I'm pretty sure that this is butted completely up. One, because I could see it before I installed the oil pan, and two, my installer got really hard right when I thought it was at the point of where it's installed. It should have been butted. And lastly, the one that I overbored, I used it as a guide for this timing cover install to make sure it was centered right for the seal. And I remember it being pretty much mated right where this little bevel is. Sorry for the shitty camera work. This little bevel here, there's another bevel right there, and it mates up right to the seal to help seal it, I guess. And I'm pretty sure that is perfect. The thing that concerns me is this timing pointer stops here. All right, my fingernail's resting on it right there. All right, it is like an inch to ½ inch shorter than what I would think it should be. You can see that good. Yep, that. So that's the first concern, is I feel like this damper should be further inset. Plus it has this big gap here. I feel like this should go in further. But I reached out to ATI and they said that's normal, and they essentially were saying something along the lines of small block Fords were kind of a pain. There's so many variances with the timing covers and whatnot. But to me, the timing covers are different, yes, but the thickness of them, like how far they stick out, should be the same. And I feel like this hub is just they use like a generic part for multiple applications. That's why they have the steps for different sizes. And I really wish it was about an inch shorter, and that would fix this issue. And this is also pretty much exactly an inch difference right here. So my first question is, other people with small block Fords that have run these dampers, was this normal? Is yours like this? Because I feel like it's not, even though ATI says it is. I wish I could take this off and cut it back, but I can't, or else it'll be on this next step that's just wider and it won't seal at that point because I don't think it'll even fit up in this next step. So it would have to be like milled, or you'd have to chuck this up in a lathe and take that down to the same diameter for it to work. Next is, what was your width of your hub, if you know? I'm assuming this is a 4-inch because the part number is that. I think that 4A, I'm assuming is 4-inch hub. So this really needs to be a 3-inch and it should fix this. Now, I feel like CVF should send me the right part. I'm wondering if I'll have to pay shipping for it or something like that and send this one back. I don't know, even though I told them that I'm running an ATI damper and gave them all my specs and details. I feel like they're gonna be a pain in the butt, but I don't know. I have hit and miss interactions with them. Sometimes they've been great support, and sometimes they have seemed like they're right and I'm wrong all the time, and I made a mistake type of thing. Even though I tried to look out for them a couple times because their instructions they send are sometimes not the greatest, and I've reached out to them on a couple of other, on my last V-belt and serpentine kit that I have on the 302. They had instructions that contradicted each other, and they had a bunch of typos, and I pretty much sent them things to correct. But it seemed like they wanted to argue with me when I was pointing out that they had corrections to do in their instructions and whatnot. But anyways, that's the deal I'm working with now. It looks fantastic, looks great. The oil pan is on, obviously. Pretty much it's all assembled minus the tensioner and the belt install and figuring out this pulley. But other than that, it's all together. And then I get to start wiring up the harness for the engine side. This top pad is just loose, it's not on. And I also need to get my timing set right because I did end up rotating the crank and get it off at top dead center whenever I did the hub install. So now I got to find top dead center again. It's pretty close to it, but my adjustment is maxed on this and it is sitting at like, I don't know if you can see that. That's the pointer tip. It's just shy of top dead center, and I feel like I should have more adjustability than maxed out. The other downside is I had to get a different timing pointer because this hub is for, I think, a B timing, which is the 11 o'clock. I should have gone with a C timing, which is what my timing pointer was, which would be an 11 o'clock top dead center, like right here. And I feel like it'd be easier to see through this gap here. Now I'm gonna have to look through this like little narrow gap in here, try to see. It's gonna be a pain. I don't even know if that's gonna work out for me. I'll probably have to use a series of mirrors and shit, who knows. But anyways, thanks for watching. Like I said, anybody that's run this, drop a comment, let me know if I'm screwing up, if I got screwed on parts, if I need to reach out to ATI or just CVF or whatever. And the other thing that concerns me too is this AC compressor. I'm hoping it's because these are blocked off, and obviously this is a pump, so it can't intake or exhaust, but this is exceptionally hard to turn, and I feel like it shouldn't be. It almost feels like it's bound up or seized up, and it's brand new out the box, but I'm hoping it's just because it's capped off and it can't push or pull air or fluid, whatever. It is pre-oil filled, so I don't want to pull those caps and introduce air to the system or anything like that, even though I got to pump it. But oh well, anyways, yeah, thanks for watching. Catch y'all later.